when everyone comes together, interested groups comes together to defame a very, very sacred temple for Hindus. And to say that the area around the temple is a place for mass murders, mass burials, as if there are dozens of people who have been killed there over the years, and without the slightest bit of evidence. Sections of the media lap up this theory, put out by a man who doesn't identify himself, a man in a mask, who goes around and says that Dharmasthala is a place for mass murders. And when the government of Karnataka goes ahead with an official digging expedition, a wild situation where a masked man who's anonymous leads them to not one, not two, but to 17 sites, where for 1 month digging has been going on to find the bodies around a sacred temple complex. And if it eventually ends up being proven to be a hoax, ladies and gentlemen, then imagine the extent to which the sacred temple, people who believe in that temple, and Hinduism itself has been defamed. I find it completely unacceptable that if today that person says he was coerced to making wild statements against Dharmasthala, that there are people trying to defame the Dharmasthala temple, that the mass burial theory was concocted and today lies exposed. Why is the same media which called the temple complex names which tried to link a sacred temple to a place for mass killings, why are they quiet today when Dharmasthala is ending up looking like a hoax? And for 5 reasons I shall explain why it looks like a hoax. The foundation of the evidence has fallen flat. The very foundation of the allegations has fallen flat. A skull produced by masked witness in the courts. The man cannot explain the origin, offer no location from where the skull was retrieved. There is nothing accompanying in terms of other remains. The SIT forensic examination dismantles this masked man's sensational claims. So in this country, are we to believe that anyone who turns up with a skull can point a finger at any temple complex and say, that temple complex is a place for mass killings, mass murders and mass burials? Second reason, there is no site of excavation which has really found any results. 17 locations flagged by this masked complainant. The SIT finds remains at only 1 or 2, raising serious doubts about the credibility of these sweeping allegations. Third reason, this masked man who has created a sense of tremendous sensational excitement among people who are opposed to Hinduism, among people who are Hindu-phobic, among people who would not waste the slightest opportunity to defame any temple complex. He keeps confusing the police at site 13. After digging 10 feet, the police find nothing but find a water stream. And then he says, I need 3 more locations. This goes on and on. And the fourth and most important reason, he was allegedly caught planting evidence. On September, at spot 11, the investigation takes a very bizarre turn. Mid-search, this masked witness stops the team, saying, I'm confused, slips into the bushes under the pretext of using a washroom. Minutes later, emerges to lead the SIT to another location, pointing to a skeleton in plain sight and declaring he had buried it 15 years ago. Tell me, ladies and gentlemen, how much more rubbish are we supposed to tolerate? Can a skeleton dig itself back out of the ground? Can a skeleton come 15 feet above the ground, dig its way out, and lie there in plain sight only to be discovered? Such obvious planting of evidence. And the same pseudo-secular media, the same pseudo-secular NGO lobbies, the same Hindu-phobic lobbies will not ask these obvious questions that I am asking. Instead, this masked man, anonymous man, in whom the whole pseudo-secular lobby has planted all their hope, he spins baseless tales echoed by sections of this pseudo-secular corporate media. This corporate media has made this man out to be the person who's the recipient of an exclusive interview, and all this rubbish is put out by that corporate media. And at the end of the day, the corporate media also finds some kind of an interest in saying that Dharmasthala, which is the place where there is a faith of 100 crore Hindus, in Dakshin Kannada, it is the second most visited site. 75 lakh pilgrims visit the temple. Ladies and gentlemen, over 15,000 people walked into Dharmasthala on Shivratri and you are abusing this site every day. How long are Hindus supposed to be tolerant? The Hindu community's tolerance has been misused for years now. But this is the Dharmasthala conspiracy which is only being exposed on Republic. And I'm so proud of my team at Republic Kannada that they've asked these questions. That's why Republic Kannada is emerging as a very popular news network. I'm asking you today, how can you cover your face, walk into a police station, have a skull in your hand and say there at that temple there are hundreds of people who have been killed and the state government has nothing to do but to continue 1 month of digging? This is not right. Hindu sentiments are not up for trade-off. Hindu sentiments cannot be sacrificed at the altar of media sensationalism, pseudo-secularism, and wild and absurd theories spun by political agendas. The people who are watching this video must demand today that there must be a huge investigation against the conspiracy against Dharmasthala. If this was a hoax, it can't be dismissed as another hoax. It is an open and dangerous conspiracy against Hinduism itself.